Hi folks, it's Darcy from the Purposeful.com, and welcome back to another edition of Drycember, where we're taking a bite-sized chunk out of learning to dehydrate all month long. And today we're going to be talking about 10 easy dehydrating projects for beginners. Now, when you're learning to dehydrate, you're either one of two people: the one who jumps all in and tries all the things and just finds this an intuitive process. And you may be the other person who, like me, was a little afraid because I was afraid of wasting food. I was afraid of getting my family sick, and I just didn't have the confidence that when I first started that I could do this well. And so I want to be able to share with you those things that I find are some of the easiest projects to do, especially after experiencing the effect of people who've started dehydrating and kind of jump into some of the big projects and just get so frustrated and stop dehydrating because those projects went bad. So I want to be sure to give you some easy projects as we start on our journey of dehydrating our first few projects for the rest of the month. Some easy ones that you can pick out to start with your new dehydrator, or if you've been afraid to get into yours, or if you just need one to give you an idea for what you're going to do this week. So first, before we get started, I want to talk a little bit about why projects showed up on this list and why they didn't. I find that dehydrating, like I said before, is really intuitive for some people, but for some people it's not. And it doesn't mean that you're not good at it. It means you haven't found that project to give you confidence, to build your skills to dehydrate. That's what we're going to work on today. Also, sometimes results aren't what you expected, and that can make you feel like you've done something wrong. And that's not always the case. Sometimes it's because of texture and taste. We all have different opinions about what things are like. The other thing is if you try some projects because you've had your experience based on what commercial projects are like, then you come home and try to do that at home and find out that it doesn't work exactly the same way. It can make you feel like you've done something wrong when it's not you at all, but it's about the process and how it's so much different for commercial foods than it is for home foods. Bananas are the top one. A lot of people like to tackle bananas first because they're so easy. You slice them, you throw them on a tray, you dry them, and they're done. And they're going to be all crisp and crunchy, just like the store-bought ones are. But the problem is that the bananas often won't be like that at all. You have to know that if you're going to dry bananas, you really need to dry them for a really, really long time to let them get to that point where they're getting really dry, not just sort of dry. They'll never be quite as crunchy and snappy and perfect the way that store-bought bananas are, because those are often fried, and we can't do that at home. So a lot of people will try that first and get dejected and then never touch their dehydrator again. I don't want that for you. I want those first projects that you pick up to be the ones that give you confidence and build your skills and make you a dehydrating fiend. Okay, so my number one favorite first thing to dehydrate for beginners is frozen vegetables. They look just like this. You can go pick them up for about $1 or $1.50 for a small bag at most grocery stores within the US. I know prices will be different around the world, but still, they're one of the most cost-effective projects to start with. And all it requires is for you to take a bag, to open it, to throw it on your trays, to dry them all out. And you've got this beautiful concoction of vegetables that you can throw into any casserole, into any soup, into shepherd's pie, cottage pie, depending on what meat you're using. You can throw it into a pot pie. You can throw it into soups. I mean, you can do so much with this. And what makes this really cool for a first project is that it converts so well to vegetable powder. Now, I do this more than I use these. Okay, my family's not a big casserole eater. They're not big soup eaters, so I make soup for me, but I don't necessarily make soup for the family a lot, so I tend to make powder out of all of it. So this is an ever-evolving powder of every kind of vegetable I've ever dried. Then I will powder it if I'm not using it up quickly enough, or I dry it specifically to put into powder. Then I add a tablespoon to 3 tablespoons on this, depending on the size of the portion that I'm cooking, and it adds extra vitamins and minerals to the meal, and you never even know it. This is a perfect first project for beginners because it's basically foolproof. My second favorite thing are greens. Now, greens, I'll eat fresh every day, and the rest of my family is the same way. But for most of us, we don't like greens that are cooked. In fact, we just go, ugh, we don't want to eat it. but I know we need our greens, and I know we need to add those vitamins and minerals to our diet. So what I love doing is dehydrating greens. Greens are just as easy as the frozen vegetables. You open your bags, you need to wash them off, because no matter if the bag says double washed or not, you need to wash your bags. Or if you're getting them from your garden, or you're getting them fresh from your grocery shelf, always wash them first. Then lay them out on your trays. If you have some that have really thick stems, pull those aside, let them dry separately. You dry them until they're just crumbly. Now, what I do with those most often is I will flake them and keep them to just toss into things that I'm cooking, and it makes it look like I've been sprinkling parsley and everything, except I use it by the handfuls. And then we've added spinach or kale or collard greens or turnip greens that we would never eat on their own into a lot of things that we cook. But the cool thing about what you can do with it is make powder. And powders to me are the thing. I love making powders. But adding this green powder to everything that we're making, just like with a vegetable powder, I sneak this into everything. It goes into eggs, it goes into pancakes, it goes into brownies. Well, I'm going to say pancakes. If it's a light meal, vegetable powder. If it's a meal that can be covered most of the time, it's greens as well. But it goes into everything I cook, and it makes it versatile. It makes it to where I'm adding more nutrition into my diet, and it just is the thing that I go through a lot. I will go through this entire jar about every 2 to 3 months, so that's how much we use it. The next project are strawberries, because I find them so incredibly easy to do. You pop off the green if you don't want to use it, but just what I do is I kind of slice the top off with a knife, and I dry those separately because our rabbit loves them. And so we use those as treats for her. But then you just have these tart, sweet little treats, and they store well. They're so good to eat. You can chop them up if you want to add them into oatmeal. You can eat them as a snack on their own. And of course, you can powder them and add the powder to so many sweets to make things taste better. And of course, I've got a blog post down below on the ways that you can use fruit powder. All right, the next thing we're going to tackle is onions. And yes, onions, because yes, you can do onions. They are so incredibly easy. They make the best at minced onions to meals, and they make the best onion powder. Homemade onion powder tastes so much better than store-bought powder that has probably been sitting on the shelf for a good long time. Basically, I take an onion, I run it through my full star chopper, like I showed on the essential tools the other day, put it on trays and let it dry. Now, of course, the thing that might make this a project you don't want to tackle is the smell, because some people are really affected by the big smell. You can do them outside, or you can sweat them down a little bit. You might not want to caramelize them all the way, but you can sweat them down a little bit, and that takes the initial bite out of the smell, and dry them that way, and they're fine. But onions, I think, are a great first project if you can handle the smell. Okay, that's the only caveat to this. All right, another easy beginning project are herbs. Herbs, however you say it. Because they simply just need to be tied together in little bundles and hung, and that's it. That's all you have to do. However, I live in a house where we have a lot of pet dander because of our rabbits and our cats and the humans that live here too. Our house is pretty dusty. We can have incredibly humid periods during the year that drying herbs out in the air is not something I like to do. I just go ahead and throw them all in my dehydrator. Do it on the lowest setting that you have. If you have a 1 temperature dehydrator, I would suggest going ahead and hanging them. But doing herbs gives you an incredible plethora of things to choose from that you've done yourself. Whether you have to buy them from a farmer's market, from the grocery store, or you can grow them on your own, these make great first projects. Just know that they don't always dry in a couple of hours. Sometimes these things can take about 18, 24 hours, even for things like basil, who have thick leaves, lots of oils. Some things take a little longer, but just be patient. You'll know when they're dry. When you pull them out and they break and are crisp after they've been cooled, they're perfect, and they can build such confidence in what you're putting on your shelf. Another first project that is super easy for me are apples. Okay, apples are easy because they're so forgiving in so many ways. Here we go. We can slice them, we can dice them, we can do segments. They are so easy. You can flavor them with some cinnamon and they become great little snacks. The only thing you have to do with apples is that you can choose to pre-treat them with a little lemon wash to keep them from turning brown. Not all apples turn brown quickly, but because people may not like the way they look, it doesn't affect the flavor. But because you may not like the way they look, try it out. You can use pineapple juice if you like to dip them in, or a lemon wash, or soak them in a little bit of lemon water. Those are the easiest ways to get started with it. Or you can just sprinkle some cinnamon on it and nobody will notice that they turn brown ever because they're already brown. So you can eat them as snacks like this. You can rehydrate them to make pies or turnovers. You can chop them up a little bit if you didn't dice them ahead of time and make great little bits to put in your oatmeal. And they are wonderful as a snack on their own. My next project, which I'm totally out of, and I'm so sad that I don't have any to show you. We have to get some, and we've been out of luck trying to get them from the pickup at the grocery store, is ginger. Ginger is so incredibly easy to do. You dice it up, you slice it up, you throw it on your trays, you dry it, you store it, you powder it when you need it, and it's incredible how good it tastes. All right, my next project is canned fruit, because the work has been done for you. And for me, for pineapple, it is a better flavor in the end from a canned fruit than it is from fresh. Partly because I think that the canning process breaks down those fibers and it just makes it something I enjoy more. But for some people, if you can't get fresh fruit a lot during the year, you can use frozen or canned and do those well and have little incredible fruit snacks to have all throughout the year. And they're so easy to do. Most of the time, it's simply opening them out, putting them on a tray, and drying them. If you're doing it from frozen, oftentimes I will suggest you thaw them first, save that to make a syrup for doing on pancakes or something, but then put those on a tray, because a lot of those fruits might release a lot of water that you don't want to have to deal with in your machine. One of my last projects, I think we're getting at 10, or we're going to be close to it, are mushrooms. And here's why. Mushrooms are so easy to do. All you have to do is wipe them off if they're not too dirty. If they are dirty, and it may not be dirt, but it could be the growing medium, you just don't want the grit in your final project, you can rinse them off, but they will turn a little darker in drying if you rinse them. Just don't soak them. But a little water is fine. It's not going to hurt your mushrooms. Do that, slice them, dry them until they're crisp and break when they're done. And then you've got some incredible mushrooms that you can use in anything. But because I don't like the texture of rehydrated dried mushrooms, I prefer to do this. And of course, once again, it's powder. This powder, and I'm almost out because 2020 being what it is, I wasn't able to get to Aldi when they had mushroom sales, and I missed out on all of them. And I'm having to wait another sale, so I'm being a little stingy with this right now. But mushroom powder adds a deep, deep umami flavor to almost any casserole that you make, any soup that you make that you want that deeper meaty flavor to it. Mushroom powder adds that, and in eggs, it's incredible. So this is what I do. All right, another one that I only have fresh available right now because I'm about to do another dehydrating round with it is celery. Celery is one of those things that you can do now. Do it in one big bundle. Buy 3 or 4 stalks of celery. Remember, a stalk is the whole thing, the rib is the small thing. Buy 3 or 4 big stalks of celery, dehydrate it, and you can have it for a good long time and only have to do it once. And then you've got celery to add to any meal all the time. It is so easy. Wash it, slice it, dry it, condition, store. It's that easy. Now, sometimes you may want to choose to blanch it, which adds an extra step. And it depends on how you like the texture after. It's recommended that you blanch, but because I'm fine with the texture of it the way it is when it's not blanched, I don't blanch it. But it's one of those things you can choose. And again, I've got tutorials down below for you to find out how to do all of these things to make it easy for you. To me, one of the super easy things to do also are zucchini. Zucchinis are so easy to prep and get ready to go into your machine. Then you can use them to throw into soups or casseroles. You can grind the powder and use it to bake with. You can slice them really thin and flavor them with seasonings and have like little zucchini chips that are fun to snack on. They're really versatile. They're really easy to use, and they're inexpensive. They're foolproof, and they are incredible to me to use for so many different things. So zucchini is on that list as well. I just don't have any to show you because I'm out. For the very last project that I find being so fun, kids are going to love it. My group is well known for everybody diving into this project, and it's super, super, super fun. And especially in time for holidays, it can make a great gift for people. So what's it going to be? I'm sure many of you who've been following me for a while are going to know what this is. But it's marshmallows. Okay? Marshmallows become this, let me see if I can open it and show you what it does. Do I have this one back from steel? No, I don't, because we've used it. They become these tiny, tiny little bombs of goodness. They are crunchy. They shatter in your mouth when you get them fully dry. If you do these peppermint kind that you probably can't get right now, you'll have to wait till next Christmas, but they're incredible in hot chocolates. They are fun for kids to throw into cereal. They're fun to throw into hot chocolate. They're fun to make like trail mixes for Christmas with kind of cereals and pretzels and things and little chocolate chips. They can be, what I've seen some incredible projects in the group this year are people taking large marshmallows, drying them fully, dipping them in a little chocolate, then dipping them in like a pretzel mix or like a crushed up pretzel mix or nuts or anything like that, and have these little s'more bites that are crunchy and instead of soft, and you can give them away, and they're so cool looking. And the other thing I like doing with it is making marshmallow powder. This can be used to flavor hot chocolate, and it just melts into the hot chocolate if you liked a little sweeter peppermint flavor. My hot chocolate mix is something that we use at home a lot now, and one of my sons likes it a little sweeter than I make it, so he adds some marshmallow powder to it to make it taste just a little bit sweeter. But marshmallows are so fun. So those are the projects that I find are super easy to get started with, to give yourself some feeling of accomplishment in dehydrating. So I know I've rambled, I know I've talked, and I've been excited about projects, but I'm excited for you to get started dehydrating. And for those of you who've not found great success, I want to be able to give you a project that you can do that makes you feel like you've been able to accomplish something with your dehydrator. So which one of these projects do you think might be versatile for you, that you would use a lot, that you think that you might be able to tackle soon? Please let me know down in the comments below. And for those of you who've been at this for a while, what would you add to that list of easy first projects? I'd love to know what you consider being something easy to do as well. So stick with us for the rest of the month where we have more projects coming up. If you missed yesterday's, it's right here. And the entire playlist is going to be available right here if you're catching up to this later. And if you like what we do, you want to see finish out the month of Drycember, and you want to see what happens in the next year, subscribe to my channel here. I appreciate you being around. I hope I'll see you again tomorrow on another edition of Drycember.